Hi, Lars. Hi,
What,
Julia.
what's going
Hello.
on, guys?
Good to see you all.
Good. It's been an interesting 2 days so far.
I know, right?
Hey, the guy himself.
Hello.
What's up,
Awesome.
Olu? You are in the blockchain, my friend.
Although sound is a bit muffled for you.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure why.
I meant you're in the blockchain, as in your sound
You're
sounds
rugged.
like the blockchain.
Hey guys, can you guys hear
Hey,
me?
How's my sound
Keisha.
now?
Yes,
Yeah, much
Better,
better.
better,
completely.
much better.
Hello, hi, Keisha.
How's it going?
Good, good.
Good.
Yeah, I just wanted to start this all off. Like the topics that we will be discussing for the listeners is the kind of the NFT and crypto space as a whole. But all the people here on the panel have their own NFT projects, and I think that obviously with the cryptocurrency kind of being the way that you can facilitate your way around the crypto space and the NFT space, just wanted to kind of kick it off of like how all of you got into the NFT space for the people to kind of get an idea of like how that could work, because some people might have not bought an NFT yet or not experienced anything in NFT. So I think it's a great way to get started to hear your stories on how did you get into the NFT space. So I will start with you, Luca. You can kind of share like your story of how you got into NFT in the first place.
Okay. I mean, before I got into blockchain NFTs, I was just doing normal digital online business like most digital nomads know how to do. But then at the start of 2021, I had just sold my business and I said, hey, let's look for something that's going to be a project for the next 10 years or the next 20 years. I came across things like Decentraland and this Metaverse idea and how NFTs were kind of going to influence that, so that there was a lot of land available. And this was all bought up. And I just had a small thesis that people, just like in real life, need to hire an architect and need to hire a land developer. I decided to create an architectural firm for the metaverse.
Wow, that's amazing.
Very,
No big
yeah.
deal. No, just
Yeah, you're just like
Nothing.
architecture
Casual.
in the metaverse. No, that Luca is a very forward-thinking person, and he has multiple businesses that he runs both in the crypto and NFT space, but also outside of it. Like he's very involved with Malta and bringing digital nomads to Malta. So he's very involved into many different communities, and I think as the people on the panel here have lived in different countries and trying to build both local community and global community, I think it's extremely important that we both realize that we have still a physical world we're living in at the same time moving towards a more digital space. So having that bridge, I think Luca is the perfect person between kind of moving the worlds both ways. So you can actually enjoy a physical location, but at the same time can tap into a digital location. So on that note, I would love to move it over to Julia in your story of how you got into the NFT space and the crypto space. Maybe before that, I'm not sure, but I would love to hear your story on that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the panel today. My name's Julia. I am a traditional artist. So my interest with NFTs definitely comes from the art side of things. I was fortunate enough to have a partner who discovered NFTs way before I did. And the more they played around with it, they were like, this is where you belong. You definitely need to be putting your art here. This is an amazing opportunity for small artists to not only have control over being able to present their work in a deregulated way, but also the opportunity to connect with fellow artists and other creators in the space really has added a whole resurgence of creative energy, which has been, invaluable to someone who creates for a living. So I discovered NFTs earlier this year. I heard about it probably around March and wasn't really invested in it till August or September, which I think is the storyline of a few of us. And we're just kicking ourselves that those 6 months went by without us investing earlier. And by investing, I mean investing time, investing energy, and investing, your excitement into figuring out and doing your own research and kind of playing around with NFTs. So my journey officially began in August as far as the really getting into the community, which is predominantly Twitter Spaces for me. I know a lot of people like Clubhouse as well, and kind of really discovering, including people on this panel, incredible community that's not only supportive from an artist standpoint, but supportive from a whole ecosystem of what NFTs can bring to the world.
Yeah, I definitely, I have obviously met all of you, some through Twitter Spaces, some through LinkedIn, some through Facebook. It's kind of like when you're in a digital space, you can tap into people. And I think that energy, I've listened to many of the panels and stages so far, and community comes also from just tapping into each other's energy. And I think when you're like-minded and you're wanting to accomplish the same goals, all of a sudden you start to kind of have synergy with certain people, and you can hear it in their voice. They're passionate, they're having a vision, and they're wanting to make it a reality. And if that means it's gaming or art or doing anything along the lines of building community, you will want to help them. You want to give them the tips that might move something forward. And for the people listening, they might not even know what NFT is. So I'm gonna kind of rewind it really quickly. That I think NFT, the best way that I can explain it, so it means non-fungible token, but really what I would like to kind of explain it as, it's like the proof of ownership of something. Normally you have in real world, kind of a receipt or having a ticket for an event, and then that QR code might function as the way that you have entry into something. Well, an NFT is kind of like you're buying a piece of art digitally and you own the rights to that piece of art. Or you wanting to go to this event in the future, you probably buy an NFT to be able to get access, and you don't need an email and a password anymore, but your NFT is enough to get in. And in Luca's case, you might want to get to a particular part in the metaverse. Well, you have to have an NFT to be able to gain access to that. And I think that an NFT is truly the way forward as far as how we're going to be doing business, because it is your IP. You can now own a part of someone else's IP, or someone else's network, or someone else's land, or someone else's apartment, someone else's car. So I think it's truly shared economy, fractionalizing things, but also one-of-ones for artists and photographers is a really powerful way of moving forward. So before we move to Keisha to hear what got her into the NFT space and the crypto space, I just wanted to put it out there for people that might not know what NFTs are. So Keisha, take it away and share your story of how you got into maybe first crypto and later NFTs.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thank you guys for having me here as well. It's just fun to see everybody. I know you guys already, but it's just fun, and I think it's great. But I have been in crypto for a couple years now. I got into crypto, I would say about 2-3 years ago, and was always super hesitant about it. I was somebody who was kind of into stock trading and trading in the market. And then when I learned this, and I was like, okay, it's fairly similar and I could play around with it, I got really sucked into it. I met some really great friends that I've known for a long time who kind of held my hand and walked me through it. So I was lucky. I was definitely lucky because it's a little bit of an intense world, and it's not a female friendly world. At least when I joined, I didn't meet anybody really. I didn't just the people that I knew that were close to me that taught me how to get into that. That was my group. So it was a whole different ball game, right? And then it's kind of like Julia's story. My partner is an artist. He's been a graphic designer, and he actually does architectural design as well, Lucas. But he was the one who showed me this, and he was just like, look, people are selling these images for millions of dollars, and artists are using this platform. And he's just like, I don't really know how it works, but he's like, I think I'm going to just try it and get into it. And I was like, well, all right, I don't know what that's all about, but I hope it goes well. And then he just really started bringing me in and diving in. And I was like, whoa, this is insane. The amount of things that you could do there. So me and my husband had started working on a project together. I kind of got a team together. Some of those guys that had originally helped me get into crypto from the past, I needed their help on setting up some things and how to I needed more explanation of how these things worked and how the tokenization of an NFT worked. And once I kind of got that under my belt, me and my husband, we just started working together. And one project that I have going on now is called Retropause. And they're just these cute little animated cartoon characters. There's about 5 different animal characters. And my goal with that was ideally to create a platform, a huge educational platform for people of all ages and all levels in this space, and to kind of have the Retropause be that mascot for that platform, right? So it's very kid-friendly, it's family-friendly, it's accessible, and that's kind of what I want to work on long-term. I do have a business, an educational background. I used to be a teacher in public schools, and I taught English in different countries and online and things like that. That's like my dive into the digital nomad world. I've been, in the digital nomad world for a little bit. And I think that's the way to find yourself in the crypto world as well, right? You just start connecting with people that are doing so many different things. And that was one thing that kind of helped me really get into it. And now I'm full in. Now I'm on Twitter Spaces all day. I'm in the communities all day. I'm talking to people. I'm networking. And I'm just like really looking at the idea of what these NFTs can be and how this can change the world and how it's connecting people, and more than the digital nomad community had probably connected before. So I think there's a lot of power in there, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah, I think it's truly coming together in all the different elements of what I think a lot of people believe in. I think that due to the pandemic, I think a lot of people starting to realize that this is a lifestyle that they could always live. And they're starting to think, what are ways that I can create income, both that has essential pieces now as far as fiat goes, but then also thinking, okay, if it's moving towards crypto, if it's moving towards the blockchain, if it's moving towards the metaverse, what can we do to be there early? And I think that a lot of people, they are in that 1 to 2% of people that might already understand this, but it's really important that we also have the educational piece, like Keisha is saying, so that we can bring the 98% in, that we have the ability to move them into the space, because a lot of people are skeptical in some ways about the crypto and NFT space, but I think they're not really looking at the possibilities of what this means. I think that they're very concerned about certain elements that are valid, but I think you can also kind of move yourself into the space, get familiar with what is out there, who is in the place, like what are they building, how are they making an infrastructure, knowing that there is DAOs now that are legally accepted, knowing that certain smart contracts in the UK are now accepted as actual legal frameworks, what is a huge change, because if we start to accept smart contract as actual legal documents, that means that we can now actually prosecute people that are not doing the right things. And I think that's a really big step forward. So educating people in this space is extremely important. And I think that Keisha's project, where we'll dive into later too, is going to create a platform for people to be able to learn also in places that might not have access to that, had never had access to that before, right? Like we have minorities in a lot of countries that don't have the ability to make those types of decisions, or to move away from their country, or to do more the digital nomad lifestyle. And I think that's important. And that comes kind of to the next person that came into the NFT space. How I met him is because I actually was very intrigued by him and all the adventures that he was creating around digital nomads. That's Olumide, the one that set up this great event. So he is very active, and he very cares about the community and the types of people that like to travel around and build a future for themselves from their laptop. And I think now the NFT space and the crypto space can also be done from your laptop. So I'm very curious how you got into the NFT space as an entrepreneur and someone that loves working digitally. So I'm very curious to hear what brought you into it.
Yeah, for me, I'd say it was probably May or June, maybe probably more like 9 months from now. And it's when I saw Gary V start talking about it. Everybody loves Gary. When Gary starts talking about some stuff, you're just like, oh shit, I better study this. If I put in my my 500 hours, like he says, maybe he did 5,000, but I did 500. All right. And when I saw the benefits for community, because that's what we do, that's what I do, community events, but primarily community. I was already done. I was like, please just give it to me now. I'm ready. And I think the biggest value that I see in NFTs, as Julia was talking about for the art space and all of the spaces, Keisha, everybody, Luca, like community, being able to give value to people, groups of people almost instantly is like something I have never seen before. Like if you buy this NFT, you get this as part of the community. Done, and it's guaranteed. It's something that, well, not everything's guaranteed in life, but it's something that you know when you're joining, if you're joining reputable people, that you're going to be part of something really special, something amazing. Often it's like, brand new concepts or ideas or groups that are forming really quickly based on everything being stored on the blockchain. So someone asked questions earlier about it, but when you have an NFT, it means you have access to that something unique for you, for that one person in a group. So for me, when I saw Gary do it, I was like, oh man, I'm in, Gary, I'm in. And the more I study, the more I realize it. So when we speak, for like Julia mentioned about the ability for you to reach a unique niche of people, but what I think is really important and cool about NFTs is the utility. And I know we'll ask questions about this, but utility in NFTs is it basically allows you to get benefits that you may not be able to get or prove on any other system. So whether it's like the access to the movie ticket, like or a movie theater, or you get access to a private island, like I've been working on. The fact that it's stored digitally and cannot be changed means if I own that one NFT, you can never take away this access that the owners or the person who started the project or the community, the value they've created, you can never take it away from me. And that's what I really loved about it. After learning from Gary, I was like, community wise, you can't take away certain things, and you promise, or you sort of build in utility that says you have access to these things. I was sold. I was done. I was like, I'm in. So that's all I'll say. I'm sure we'll have different concepts to talk about, but that's what got me into it. And I've been head deep, knee deep, whatever they say, since then. I mean, I live and breathe NFTs. I will die with NFTs. Like there's so many concepts that are out there that I'm embracing regarding NFTs, and I'm so happy about the community because on a global level, it's so diverse. Like I always say, crypto, or don't care if you're black, white, whatever, and I think Luca mentioned that too, like it doesn't matter who you are, it's mostly anonymous. And when it comes to the NFT space too, you're seeing people's lives change overnight. That's the biggest thing. You've seen people, I have friends that have become multimillionaires off of NFTs. It's like it's just incredible what this technology allows you to do, and I'm so excited to talk about it more. So I'm gonna just relax and just let everybody else talk, because I could just talk all day. So
it's very easy. It's very easy to get excited, and what's really funny too is like you speak to someone who's not into NFTs, who doesn't like NFTs, and you're trying to explain it to them, and you have so much passion because you on a daily basis speak with people that are super passionate for it as well, and then you're trying to do that with them. And I'm telling you, it's the 3-step process. You have to talk to them twice about it. And then it's the third time that starts to click in their mind. And all of a sudden, they're there all the time. Like, I promise you, this is not anything different than the .com. Everyone listening, this is not a joke. It's coming for you in either 6 months, 2 years, or 5 years.
Yeah.
You cannot...
The .com, so we're all still building websites and companies on the internet, and it's still a successful business model if you do a .com, right? So when you're looking at NFTs, we're getting into a market which still needs to exist because we're still in the early adoption of this new technology. And in 20 years' time, you're going to have 20 years experience in NFTs, and people are going to be like, wow, this guy is a super world expert. well,
I think
let's at least start today.
I was gonna say, I think it's awesome, especially hearing everyone speak about how we got into NFTs, because regardless of what aspect you're interested in NFTs, because there are so many different specialties that are needed in the NFT community, is that, like you said, Lars, that 1, 2, 3, all in, every single person, friend, community member that I've interacted with who have officially committed the time and the research to understanding NFTs, we are just, it's all in. We're all sold. We're all really
will be
excited
honest,
about it.
I am. So I got into NFTs also because of Gary Vee. Funny enough, because I ran an animation studio with my partner in the US, and he was talking to me. He says, I got a Twitter DM from Gary Vee that he is interested in buying the animation studio because he wants to use it for his company VFriends. And then I was like, we're not doing that because we're not going to be under control that he's going to make all the demands on everything we create. But I am researching hardcore on what this NFT space is, because if he says this and he has never spoke about crypto before, he has found something that is being able to be something big. So I realized event tickets, subscription models, all can live on the blockchain. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to find my own like project, my own thoughts on like how can I do something that gives access to something of value that people need. So I thought I was a Nomad Fest in Bansko, where I am right now. I saw all these nomads and they were like, I want to kind of live here and I want to kind of live there, but I might not want to be there all the time, or like I want to be there maybe 6 months or maybe even like 1 week. And I saw this pattern where some people wanted to be there 6 months, some people wanted to be there 1 week and get out. So I was like, what if I create a model that facilitates both? So that's kind of how my process in the NFT space kind of started. So what I wanted to do now is we go back to Luca and we go kind of around similar. What made you stay? So we've kind of already tapped into it, like we were hooked, we were sold, but kind of like your maybe your experiences of like, okay, so this got you into it. So what made you stay? Like, what was the reason that you're like, I'm not going to leave this space, I'm going to maybe shift slowly into it fully? Like, what made you stay?
I mean, when I started the year, I started a number of businesses. 2 of them kicked off, you could say, properly. The first one was Decentraland Architects, and that was in around February, March. I mean, things were still where there was quite a lot of excitement, but not as much as there has been in the past 2-3 months for sure. So there was between March and July, things quieted down. Then the digital Nomad Visa of Malta was launched, so my consultancy there was moving along, and I was happy doing that job. I love welcoming people to Malta, going for coffees with clients who just arrived here, helping them to move in, whatever it is. I genuinely love people, and that's what I started. What I enjoyed about working in blockchain is that the values of people in blockchain are values I kind of subscribe to. So I do like both communities, digital nomads and blockchain. I feel like both values of both communities are interesting to me. But then, of course, the past 3 months, then things just went a bit parabolic, So it was so crazy hype. My website is seeing crazy traffic. A lot of legacy businesses want to build inside the Decentraland. So it's like, hey, this is something that can be really big. I shared this kind of my project with a friend of mine who now became a co-founder with me. And we both actually used to play video games together for fun. And when the pandemic hit, we were both just graduated from university, and we had set up a Minecraft server just for the fun of it, and had invited European students from all over, from like 500 universities, to come to our Minecraft server, which was a map of mini Malta kind of thing. And that experience, I think, really laid the foundations for me to actually feel like, yes, okay, I do like real life connections. But being online, being in a metaverse, I can actually meet people, I can actually have fun, and I can actually also make good contacts and make productive time. So I think really recognizing that this is here for good, and believing it 100% and truly through my body. It's impossible for me to say let me do something in another industry, because I'll regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way about, like, you have to truly believe in something to also present it to others. Like, you can never do something that if you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. So I think that's definitely the first step. So I'm curious, Julia, like what made you stay?
I think it's there's so many layers to this. As we were talking about onboarding our friends and everybody, and it's the hardest part is like, where do you even begin? But for me, the reason that I stayed, I think, is the momentum. We spoke about it a little bit. You know, I personally, I'm a small one-of-one artist in the NFT world. I've been very successful with my project. I have not made millions of dollars, nor do I expect to make, you know, hundreds of thousands this collection. But the momentum and the support and the anticipation of building something for a long period of time over the course of my hopeful career as an NFT artist is what's kept me to stay, along with, as we've mentioned, the community. It's not just that I'm making money off of the artwork that I've been doing for the last 4 years just for myself, and I'm actually able to start, you know, paying my rent with the art that I've been producing for myself. But it's also the idea that I am supported as an artist in this space, and there is a future for me in the NFT space. I think a lot of digital nomads can definitely resonate with the idea of we have very little control over. I personally am my day job, I work in fashion and I freelance, and I'm a digital nomad, so I move around a lot. And because of that, I have some days where it's really difficult to know what my life is going to look like in 5 to 10 years, or, you know, how much savings I'm going to have for a house in 5 to 10 years when I decide where I want to live, Lars. And I think NFTs, the reason that I've stayed in NFTs is, for the first time in a very long time, I feel like I'm investing in my future in a way that I haven't had the opportunity to do as an artist ever. That's a short version, but that's one of the main components.
Yeah, no, I think you summarized that really well. I think longevity, I speak about legacy. I think it's always legacy over currency, because currency follows legacy. Because I think if you're building something that is for long term, you know, like if Olumide says we're building this community for life, someone is going to buy in to that particular storyline. If that means he makes the money today or he makes the money in 5 years, doesn't matter. In the end, he will make the money. But people, they think out of a survival instinct a lot of the time. So they think, I need this now. But they forget, if you are going to present it as you need this now, everyone sees that. Everyone feels that. Nobody wants to, like, you know, be a part of something that they know could end tomorrow. You would want to be part of something that you know is going to be there for a very long time, or at least the aim to be there for a very long time. So you're 100% right, Julia, that a sense of belonging can also be in being part of something that is not just going to disappear tomorrow. So on that note, I say, Keisha, knowing that the educational space, I hope, will always be there, because we continuously learn and we continuously want to improve ourselves. So I would love to hear, like, kind of like what made you stay after an exciting entry into the space.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I did have an exciting entry into the space. Like I said, I've been in crypto for a while, but I got into NFTs around like March of this year. And I remember the Bored Apes minting. I remember the Cool Cats minting. I remember all these huge projects that, yes, I didn't get into all of them. I'm upset, but it's okay. We all learn. But I saw all of these big projects and I was just like, well, these look cool, but like what's really going on here? And then Twitter Spaces, I've always been big on Clubhouse. I loved Clubhouse. And then Twitter Spaces started doing the same thing. And I started getting in there and I met some amazing people like Lars, Julia. Lars introduced me to Olumide and his project. And I was just like, that was actually one of my first big purchases was the island project that Olumide is doing, because right off the bat, me and Lars connected. He was like, "Oh, you're a digital nomad, me too." He's like, "Check this out," and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Wait a second!" And right off the bat, I bought two. I bought one for me and my husband. I was just like, "This is it," you know. And then right after that, everything started sparking up. And I just saw all the potential for this to grow. I met some amazing people. And then also a really big thing was kind of like Julia, like my husband got so into this and he was so successful in this and like is now being continuously onboarded into other projects. To see him being able to like grow also as an artist, because he's been an artist and like a freelancer forever, and it's not easy, you know what I mean? Like he is now making more money as an artist than he ever was. You know, like it's not easy, and his life has changed entirely. And my husband is from Costa Rica. I'm in Costa Rica right now. You know, like this is definitely not in Latin America at all. It's very minimal, the amount of, and you know, how this is getting into Latin America. It's very limited. For some people here, not everybody has the money, but this was life-changing for him. And that, you know, is also life-changing for me, because it's amazing to see that, grow for him as an individual, and he's just growing constantly. And then me here, and like now we're working together on things, and like we have mutual friends in the space, and it just brought so much, like, yeah, it just brought so much joy, you know. COVID has been going on. I've been kind of stuck for 2 years, not really being able to go anywhere. I'm a nomad. I'm the type of person, I can't stay still. You know what I mean? I can't stay still. I'm never usually in a place longer than a year, or a couple months. So it was a little rough for me. And like going into Twitter and meeting such amazing people and making a community out of it, and then being able to onboard people and seeing people's lives change from one day to another, I was just like, this is ridiculous, you know, like this is amazing. This is the next level. And I've always been bullish on decentralization and decentralized finance. And like since I was in crypto, I knew that was going to be the future. I knew that was what's going to change people's lives and give people true independence and disconnect us from you know, faulty systems and things that just don't work anymore, you know. And that was one thing here too, the possibility of being a part of a DAO that's trying to create a city or create an organization, the possibility to, you know, connect with people from all over the world and create this amazing project that will change our lives and other people's lives. Like that's what got me, you know, just the future. And kind of like Julia was saying, I see the longevity in here. I've gone through that where I'm just like, you know, I'm a freelancer, I'm doing this, I've got my own business, but it's just like, what is tomorrow going to look like? And this created like an infinite tomorrow for me. You know, this made me see like just so much more ahead of things, and just so much more than myself. You know, this just made me see things and ideas that I probably wouldn't have thought of before. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm in here, and I'm in here to grow, and I'm in here for forever. Like Olumide said, live, breathe, you know, every day, the whole space. It's addicting, but it's very fun. If you go at it with the right level head and you take it slow and you take it easy, it can be an amazing experience. And I don't think anybody that, you know, unless you something went wrong or things like that, I haven't met somebody who's gone into the space and regretted it. So
yeah, all of a sudden you have the majority of people saying the 9 to 5 doesn't work, where if you're coming from a traditional sense, everyone says 9 to 5 is the way to do it, right? So it's like, as a kid, or maybe as a kid, like how our parents all grew up, I can imagine all 5 of our parents have grew up in the system of doing a 9 to 5, and that's what you're supposed to do. And now we're getting into a place where, first, I think digital nomads kind of changed the game, but they were like the odd ones out. And now you're starting to see that true finance is coming in different avenues. And I think that's what changes lives. And then it's going to happen that there's going to be this flip where the 98% thinks, yeah, well, I don't want to go to the office every day anymore. I don't want to be doing these things anymore. I want to be able to not have to deal with, paying paying rent into one place and like being stuck in one place. Like people start to see that there is freedom in like being in different locations, and then having finances both in fiat and in crypto can truly like change things for people. So yeah, on that note, Olumide, like what made you stay in this space? Like what made you feel very loyal towards it?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely being able to give back, and specifically with royalties in NFTs. And royalties is NFTs huge for artists like with Julia and Keisha, with your husband and your partner. Like you can put a percentage of the resale to be sent automatically to your wallet every time an NFT is sold. When I heard that, I was like, boom, I'm in again. Okay, well, get an NFT, you get an NFT, you get an NFT. I was out here like, I just want them all. And so just the main thing I'll say about royalties though, and being able to get that percentage was giving back to charities. And this really, really near and dear to my heart is like every project I do, literally everything from the 10% from the primary sale will go to my favorite charity in Bali where I'm based, no matter what. Like I'm not, and that's the thing. I was always wondering, like, especially with like traditional business, like how do you give back? Well, you don't have to worry about it now. Just make sure you build 10% of, at least I do. I build 10% of the royalties of any project I ever do in NFTs, minimum, into the royalties that, or into the primary sales that is given to my favorite charity or in charity in general. So that was the thing that made me stay, where I knew forever, even when I die, anything that I ever create will give back. Like that's something you can't even like imagine. Like other people try to make impact in the world and like you can't, it's not measurable. Now it's measurable. And I even
generational wealth.
You know what I mean? And I try to measure or try to like inspire other entrepreneurs to say like get into the space, because just by having this built in, your legacy is sealed. It can't. The blockchain is sealed, fam. Like that's why we love it so much. Once you get on the blockchain, it can never be removed. So that was one of the biggest things. And also another reason I stayed is obviously community, knowing that once you join and once you become a part of this community as well, like you're embraced, you're loved. People say like, hey, welcome. Like that's the most welcoming community I've ever seen. Like when you join a project, or when they call it when you ape in, like everybody's excited. It's a game. It reminds me of like when you're trading Pokemon cards on the playground, and everybody's like, oh, which one did you get Charizard? Oh, you got the one with the water spout, and then everybody has their own unique, also depending on the type of NFT, piece of art or something that also has a shared identity. You know, even like ours, my first project, Nomad, Digital Nomad Islands, it's a unique piece of art for a certain limited number of people that when you own it, you're like, oh, and people were asking me when it first came out, they're like, oh, can you like, hey, when are you going to send it to me? And I'm like, it's coming. Like even on our new project, because we haven't revealed the art yet, people literally are like screaming and knocking the door down to see their unique piece, you know, because you feel like you're a part of something. So I feel like I'm a part of something really special, really unique, just by being the founder of the projects I've started. But then I've also aped in to other projects where I'm like, ooh, I'm coming in there. Like, who's in here? Who else is in here? I mean, what's going on in here? And that longevity is really key for me, because even I'll be real with you guys. If you guys have been following me on social media, I had some recent sort of challenges with this project. And I'm not saying I gave up, but I gave up for a minute. I was like, I want to leave this project behind. I'm going to go to this other project. But the blockchain wouldn't let me leave. The NFT wouldn't let me leave. And I decided to go back and say, listen, I was just kidding everybody. And it was a big deal to me, because I realized like I'm literally locked in for life. I have no choice but to create this community for digital nomads, a private community on an island for digital nomads for life. So so here's another thing is longevity wise, the reason I'm in it is because I know that it's going to benefit me long term as well, just to be real. So I decided to open back up. And Keisha, you're on Nomada. I decided like Lars, you can have multiple projects. You can have, that's another thing I like about it. and longevity, and why I'm in it, because you can work and have different projects. You can be involved on so many different levels. There's people that own 8,000 NFTs. I own like a few hundred, perhaps. You can own a piece of everything. That's why I'm in it. Just like you created your vacay shares to let you own sort of a piece of a vacation or a home, the ability to own something in perpetuity is something that's kept me, and that's why I'm sticking with my people with Nomad, and I have the new project, Wealthy Penguins, that I'm just like, I'm in it forever. The longevity of it is making me say, you're never going to be abandoned, and your community will always love you, which is what I've felt, and that's what I love about it, that I'm sticking with it, because you'll always be loved. When you join the community, no one's going to hate on you. Like, you literally is the most accepting community I've ever seen. I'm like, how is this possible? And yeah.
And people will literally like extend a hand to help you out and everything. If people are passionate and believe in what you're doing, it's just like, wait, like, what are you having troubles with? Like, how I've had people reach out to me on Discord or Twitter, like, whoa, like, what can I do to help? Like, I saw that you posted about this, like, and I'm just like, oh my God, when has this ever happened? You know what I mean? Like, I've created my own businesses. I've helped people run some businesses as well, all digitally and things like that. I have never had someone just genuinely, unless it's like not even on LinkedIn where someone's trying to sell me something, right? And they're just, I want to help. And then it's actually like a sales funnel. And I'm like, all right, like there's people in the NFT world that are actually, going to help you, and they have no idea who you are. They're just like, no,
Sorry, Keisha.
Oh?
I was saying, I think a huge thing is that there's value in just showing up. So there's value in showing up for your community members, for showing up for people who have different perspectives of you. And like Keisha said, if you have a project, I have an expertise, there's value in me offering my expertise to you in a way that I don't know it's going to return, but the way that the NFT world is so tight-knit at this moment, I don't know how or in what way, but I know that eventually it will come back to me in like this weird karma way that is very, very relevant to the circular system that NFTs encourage.
Yeah, I have three things to say to this, because I think the first thing is that anything you ever do, like when you start a project, when you start a business, when you start anything, you get excitement, but excitement is split into two pieces: joy and anxiety. And I think when that settles, you get a crash, right? Olumide described it just in his own words, right? He has everyone is excitement. Show me the thing. And then afterwards, it's like, you go into the crash, but you know where the beauty happens? I've seen it so many times, is when that stabilizes again. That's when you start truly creating. You don't create when you launch. You create when you stabilize. People always think that the real creation is happened at the launch. That's not true. The real creation happens after you crashed and you were long enough around to be able to get back up and say, I'm still there. Do you think that the Googles of this world were the best companies at the time? The Facebooks? No, they were not. The MySpaces and all these other ones were first, but the other ones sticked around long enough that they were like, when the moment comes and the dust settles, we're gonna come in and we're gonna hit you hard. And I think the reason why I wanted to stay is because I truly felt I could build a legacy and I could change the model of how housing is done, because I don't believe in renting models and I don't believe in mortgage models, and no one has the cash to be able to buy stuff straight up, to be able to truly build generational wealth. Generational wealth can also be an asset. So I think that's when I started to realize that you need to not just look out of like a cash flow perspective. Everyone needs cash flow, but I think assets is something that, I speak to people from India. The point I was going to make, the second one, is like, I speak to people from India. I speak to people from South America. I speak to people that their families maybe like never had the ability to own property. They never had the ability to do certain things. And now it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter. And then I was in the digital nomad visa space, like listening to people in different countries. If they're opening those things up more, and at the same time, like real estate on the blockchain becomes more relevant, we're having an ability to now open the floodgates for talent from anywhere in the world. So I think the reason why I stay is because I've had friends from all places of the world, and I think that they all should have the opportunities that people from, where I'm from originally. I think we are more lucky than most, the Netherlands, Germany, US, Australia, we have things that a lot of other people don't have. And I want to make it an equal playing ground for anyone that wants to do the work. Because I always say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I'd rather have all the hard workers beating all the talent from the spoiled, kind of the spoiled countries, as we call them in some ways, then I rather have a world where everyone that works hard and does their part can play in all the different projects that we have. And that's kind of why I want to tap into the next thing, is like kind of speaking about your project, of what you're doing in the NFT space, and how you see the future of your project and the space that you're building your project inside of. So Luca, so how do you explain about your project and like the longevity of like what it will look like in the future?
I mean, started really small, just trying to find any client I could find in any Discord chat possible. So in the Central Land, the first thing I actually built were just small projects on one plot. I had one guy ask me to build a waifu, which is basically a virtual girlfriend kind of thing. It's like an anime character. Yeah, so I mean, and then as time went on, and I started to feel a bit more confident that hey, I can deliver on projects. I started reaching out to bigger people, and these people were replying, and eventually one guy referred me to some good clients, and the past 3 months, I've had one of my venues end up on the New York Times. I've had Fortune 500 companies like gauging their interest in entering the space and asking us to build. And we're doing a lot of, we're booked up till January, which is crazy in my mind, I can't believe
Awesome.
it. But now we're just focusing on trying to grow our community of developers. And I always saw myself as a person who could help people who want to just work and create and design, and they don't want to care about the marketing and the branding and the payments and sorting that stuff out. So I'm just playing to my strength, which is trying to be nice to the people who I work with, so that I keep the best people around me. And that's the goal for 2022. It's to grow my pool of developers so I could do more clients, kind of thing.
That sounds great. And
I mean, there's I think digital nomads and have something like really valuable, which for the past 5 years, digital nomads were never afraid of kind of not having regulation that allows them to work in other countries. And I think that kind of comfort with uncertainty is an important kind of character trait to have in this space. And I do want to see more digital nomads come into the space, because I do think that the people who have traveled the world, who have worked online, who look beyond social norms, are the people who can think outside the box and do like what Lars has done, create a completely new business model in property, do like what Olu has done, use his skills of people and community building and just apply it with new technology. And I feel like if we all just take stock of what skills we have and try to apply them in the space, we'll all be able to build new businesses that are kind of future-proof.
I think collaboration is the biggest thing in all of this. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, an architect, music producer, or real estate agent, or like travel, like the traditional travel agents. You have all these abilities to be able to put them all together into one. So like I think I'm excited because I can work with people that are way more creative than me in a visual sense. I can work with people that are amazing developers and so forth. So Julia, please walk us through your project like that you do on every Sunday. I think it's a very unique way of doing NFTs, and I would love for everyone to hear how you can apply this particular NFT space to an art project like yours.
Sure. So for those of you who have just joined us, I am an NFT artist, and it's been really exciting because the project I've launched my NFT career with is called postcards that I have been hand drawing over the last 4 years. It started with a stack of Pantone postcards. I have a background in design, so if you are aware of the Pantone company, it's definitely a huge part of design is picking out colors for different products and things. And as I was transitioning with my career, I wanted something that let me keep my identity as an artist. I was really afraid that changing careers meant that I would lose my creativity and that, again, you know, imposter syndrome, I wouldn't be considered an artist anymore if I wasn't committing 100% of my time to being an artist. So I started this little daily practice of sketching on postcards that were meant to help with my mental health over the last 4 years, which have been very, very surprising. I'm sure we can all relate. And when I discovered NFTs, I launched this project of the 100 postcards that I've been hand drawing as the Pantone project. Part of that was because I wanted to change the name so that I had ownership over my own project. And then part of it was I changed the name to Fantones because it is a representation of doing this project daily to help keep the ghost of my insecurities at bay and really allow myself to be an artist and allow myself to call myself an artist. And with the NFT space, like we have mentioned before, consistency, I think, over talent, you know, hard work over talent. And as I was figuring out what my career as an NFT artist is going to look like, I wanted to do a project that was manageable for my mental health and also manageable to continue to show up. So what I decided to do is I began releasing my Pantone postcards as NFTs in small batches every Sunday. So on Sundays, I release whatever that week I had the mental health to create. So some weeks it's 12, some weeks it's 5, like last week, because I was actually in transition from Paris. I'm in Ecuador now. And the idea behind releasing weekly is so I can continue to show up and so I can continue to be consistent and so I can continue to learn about the space with a smaller project that will hopefully be the springboard for my other artwork. And I bring that up because in NFTs, there's a really interesting conversation around utility, which Olumide brought up a little bit. And utility is basically people are giving incentives and they're also promoting community by saying, hey, if you buy this NFT, then you are a part of this community that all of the owners of NFTs, or if you buy this NFT, we'll give you some real estate and the real world. And it's a way of kind of transitioning real world into Web3 and this really exciting bridge. For me as an artist, I don't provide that typical utility with my NFTs because a huge proponent of why I'm in the space is art for art's sake. And the idea of people buying NFTs because they want the original artwork, not because I'm providing a specific utility that encourages them to buy the NFT. So for me, instead of NFT first, artwork second, it's artwork first and NFT second, which is still really encouraged throughout the community. And so for me, moving forward, the idea of providing utility and providing value to my NFT collectors, instead of it coming from the incentives or the utility that I've pre-planned, for me, the value comes from my success as an artist in this space. Because the friends and the artists and the collectors who have collected this very first collection while I'm figuring it out, while I'm playing in this space, while I'm getting familiar with everything, are then going to follow my career as an NFT artist, hopefully for the next 25, 30, 40, 50 years. And they'll be able to say that they had this artwork from 2021. And the utility and the value is being added as I continue to show up in this space. So that's kind of the project that I'm working on now. And that's my hope for the future.
For sure. Yeah, and I think there's different use cases for all of the different things in the NFT space, and I think that both Keisha and Olumide have a PFP project that have underlying things, and a PFP project means a profile picture project. Like I have to be in terms that people understand. Like I know we all know these words, but we have to make sure that people understand that it's also an identity thing, and that's how I would like to kick it off. That Keisha can get started on her project with the retro pause, and then Olumide with his wealthy penguins as well.
Yeah, I forget that we're not on Twitter Spaces and everything. I'm just like, terminology, mics, all that stuff. And just to kind of jump off of what Julia was saying too, just like, I think that when you're an independent artist like that, all that really collectors, as me myself, I consider myself as a collector, like all I think people really want to see is you showing up and continuing to provide. Like for me, that's it. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Just to see the career and the longevity of an artist, and there's a lot of power in that as well. But yeah, as a generative collective project is something that really blew up in the NFT space. It's kind of how things almost originated, right? With CryptoPunks, they came out in like 2017. They are a generative project. The Bored Apes, if you look at any of these big projects, you'll understand a little bit more what a generative project is. And we kind of jumped on that wagon as well. And a generative project is just creating one character or multiple characters. And then it goes through a script that a dev will be able to make. Obviously, the artist has to make the base foundation of it. Then the developer has to put it into some sort of script, some sort of generator to actually create these images. But it all starts by hand, right? The artist has to do everything by hand, every step. And with Retropause, originally my husband beforehand had a project that he did, a very small generative collection. And I like that Olumide brought up kind of giving back. And with that project, we were able to plant thousands of trees all throughout North and South America and things like that. So we kind of jumped off of that project, wanted to give it a companion, wanted to give it a little bit more of a different feel. And I really wanted to create this platform that is an educational platform for people, like Lars was saying, so that this is accessible for anybody all over the world. And me as an educator, and I'm not a mother, I don't have children, but I saw really amazing, talented children coming into the space. There's a very talented young individual who's like 12 years old. Her name is Nyla. She came out on the Time magazine. Now a millionaire, right? But also an extremely talented individual for a 12-year-old. I've met 13-year-olds who have launching their own projects, 7-year-olds. And then I've also just met parents who are really interested and have talented children, and they just don't know where to start, right? And they also want it to be safe and legible, understandable for the family and for children. Somebody who just really needs you to walk them step one all the way to the last final step. And that's what I really aim to do with this platform, with the Retropause, is create videos and courses and little mini things that will, your child who's 7 years old can pick up the iPad, watch a couple videos, and then the video will be like, all right, now create your NFT. The child can draw out their NFT. And then the video ends with, all right, now let's mint that NFT and let's put that out there. And just obviously in a safe parental manner with your parents there, because there's going to have to be money involved at one way or another. But one thing I really want to do with the Retropause also is create, have a lot of those royalties and things that come from the project to create a sort of launchpad ecosystem where we're also providing grants and funding to schools or teachers or other people who just want to start up a project and don't have the capital to even mint, or to, they just don't know where to even start. So just kind of giving that bridge of, people that really want to get into it and want to start and might not have the money to pay a mint fee. There's different chains on this blockchain world. There's Solana, there's Ethereum. That's a whole other Pandora's box. But I decided to do the Retropause project on the Solana blockchain simply because of its accessibility and because of its being an inexpensive platform for people who are just coming into the space. Ethereum has what is called gas fees, and sometimes they can be a little crazy. And I just wanted it to, be very simple, and I wanted people to just have it to be affordable and start in that place. But that's kind of where Retropause is trying to head towards. And I see that future of building the platform. I feel Olumide there in terms of just like, it's hard to market these big projects, right? Sometimes it looks really easy and you're just like, oh, but these guys did it and they made millions of dollars.
It's really 6 million in like 4 minutes. I could do that. Now you can't. Not yet.
Overnight success doesn't exist. Overnight success does not exist.
No,
you need months. You need months of preparation to even get close to that. I think
it takes years of experience.
all of us here know this because we have seen it many times. Maybe you have experienced it yourself if you're doing a project. It never is. It never comes out the way that you planned it. Never, like not once.
And you could bring...
I think.
Go ahead, Lars.
I was like, I think Olumide has experienced something like this because when I have experienced it in a smaller form the same way. It's like you could envision something, but if you are there and everyone else is not, then it's like it's like those sheep jumping over the little like balcony thing. They jump over it, but if they're not even know that they have to jump, how can they even get to where you are? So I think it's like 2%. Like, I mean, us as advertisers and marketers, we know it's a 2% rule, right? Like we have if we pitch it to 100 people, 2 people are going to do it right away. The rest, it might take time. So I think that Olumide, I mean, I'm not sure because we're the last one if we can continue because I mean, I don't know how it works.
Just run it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Oh, the hour already passed. Oh my god!
I know as being used. I mean, honestly, NFT cannot be summed up in 1 hour. I can be. There's not a short way to go around this.
I have so much to say.
I know, and we're used to
my keynote as well. I'm like, oh my god, 55 minutes passed.
Right.
This is crazy. Time flies, and I want to. I really want to have people hear all of the stories because I know I build it up this way because it's still so difficult because I already heard gas fees, I already heard different blockchains. Like I have probably 10 more topics that I have to cover before you're truly familiar. That's why I always say do your due diligence, do your research, because I cannot give you all the nuggets in 1 hour facilitated by we are already hitting a really broad spectrum in this like we're having someone that builds infrastructure on the metaverse. We have someone that's doing an art project on the blockchain. We have someone that builds educational platform, and we have someone that has an island access plus networking community, plus we have a real estate with myself. We already hitting a very generic, but we still an hour is not enough. So I hope people tap into this when they're still here, because I believe that people probably enjoy being here, listening to all of your stories. And I want Olumide to kind of explain his, and I will explain mine briefly. And then maybe we can hit any topics that we feel like we should definitely inform people on.
Yeah.
Any questions on the right-hand side? Like if we are speaking, people asking questions. So Olumide, I would love for you to explain your journey of now 2 projects in one, kind of like that's kind of what it turned into.
They're separating again. That's the complication about this space is that challenge in this space. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And then you got these gas fees and the fact that if I had a wealthy penguin for every all 100 Nomada people, it would cost me $18,000. Even if I made the NFT free and minted and just paid the fees, it would cost me $18,000. But the long story short is I've created 2 projects now, and I've decided to separate them. So you're hearing it here first. If you're people that are here with Nomada and Digital Wealthy Penguins, it's just a decision I decided to make because they are instinctively similar, but they're different projects. So the first project I created was called Digital Nomad Islands, Nomada, which is an access token, the world's first access token to a private island. I just said, fuck it, let me give them the best utility you can get in the whole world. What hasn't been
done? Went all in. He went all in.
I said, what can nobody else really do except for me because I'm just crazy? Oh, private island access. So it started out maybe 3-4 months ago where we basically opened it up for 5,000 people to be able to purchase one piece of art. So it is a non-generative piece of art. So basically, usually you get generative profile pictures, PFPs, where you get a cat or a retro paw where they have different features.
Some sort of animal.
Some sort of animal. You got to do some sort of animal. It's got to be cute. It's got to be like cool. And you get those different features. My first project, which Lars, I thought this was a mistake. This is what I was telling myself for weeks. Like, oh, you fucked up. Like, I thought by doing a non-generative project, I messed up. I'll explain why I did mess up in about 1 minute. But by not doing a non-generative project, I was like, oh my gosh, like the main NFT space is you know, these people who have profile photos of different types of apes and monkeys and rats and cats and all this and everything, alligator, I don't know, all this stuff, dolphins, you know, and I thought to myself when I created Digital Nomad Islands, like, oh, I messed up. But long story short, Digital Nomad Islands gives access to a private island. I have friends here in Indonesia that I have resorts on private islands. I'm leveraging my network, and that's the first version of me getting on the scene. What happened was, and again, always relating to the different conversations we've had, is it wasn't a failure, but I sold 100. We generated about 70,000 USD. The reason I jumped into it too, so NFTs was not just Gary Vee, but one of my mentees, a 21-year-old guy from San Diego, California, made about $1 million with his NFT projects. And I was like, okay, yeah, you have community, but I want to make money too, bro. And it was like some kid I used to mentor is now multi-millionaire. I'm like, there's something going on here, by the way. So that was another background I wanted to share. And I didn't do a generative project in the beginning with Digital Nomad Islands with Nomada, but I learned a lot. And what I tried to do, Lars, was turn that into another project and transfer people onto my new project, which is called Wealthy Penguin Island Club. So the first one is just providing that just straight up access to a private island. That's the utility. The new one is called Wealthy Penguin Island Club, which is a private business club for investors, entrepreneurs, crypto enthusiasts who basically can network and introduce business deals to each other. And also, I love islands. I don't know, I'm obsessed with islands now, and also have access to an island, but in this case, in the form of creating a penguin club. It's so funny when I say this stuff. We're creating a penguin club, or basically a members club on another island. So long story short, my projects are about giving people access to a community, whether it's on an island or a private business community. Those are my two projects that I've dropped in the link. And what I've decided is I'm going fully into my core community. I'm actually kind of dropping stuff right now. That's how I can literally say something, put it on the blockchain, and we're good to go. But this is what I've decided to do with Nomada is honor my original statements and my things I promised in my community, which is access to a private island. And I've taken it, I've cut it down, and I haven't posted on social media because people start freaking out every time I post now, apparently. But that's good. But taking it from 5,000 to 500. Now we're exclusifying something that piece of art that is not generative, that was only one piece of it, that everybody shares, that really a piece of a floating island. We're taking it from 5,000 to 500. Lesson learned on how to exclusify and create a real core community, and understand that there's different versions of NFTs. You don't have to do what everybody's doing. That's the beauty of it. Lars is creating an Airbnb mixed with a timeshare mixed with, I don't know, experiences, bucket list type experiences. What, bro? What are you doing? But that's what he's doing. So, and there are no rules except for do good, and that's what I've decided to do. So breaking news live. I'm honoring that original promise to my Nomada people. I found another island, yo. I'm not stopping. Like, there's a vision there that I want to keep going. On this side, creating this exclusified, very small, tight-knit community, because you can do that with NFTs. You could say, I have a 5,000 collection, a 10,000 collection. You could do a one-of-one, Julia. Julia does one-of-ones, right, I believe, or small collection, and she can sell it at $500, $1,000, $2, $50, whatever you want to do. That is another beautiful thing we have to remind people. There are no rules right now. Lars is the innovator creating this thing that no one has ever done in the world.
I will tell you this, Olumide, I'll tell you this, that basically what we're doing is trial and error. Like, I will be honest, I have already rethought my concept 50 times over in my head.
Yes.
And I feel like I made mistakes. I've made mistakes. I'm going to change my model. And because it's on the blockchain, as an entrepreneur, you're now like, shit, like we're used to managing expectations. But I put my expectation out there, and if I can meet it, I have to find a way to accomplish, like, do something to be able to still provide value and doing something along those lines.
It's described like this, if you don't mind, Lars, very quickly. It's like in the past, most startups or products would be delivered fully baked, so ready to ship. Whilst with NFT products, things are by nature released half baked, because product market fit needs to be found twice. First, the entrepreneur needs to figure out what the product he's going to build in is. He goes out there and he sells it, and then he has his community, and he has to then find product fit with the community who bought the product as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that initially, like, you're going at it from like the visionary perspective. Like, you're like, I see this picture, like the island, right? It's like an island. You see this picture and it's there, but it's not there. It's you have to still come up with something. And how I envision living, like, for a lot of people, as in, you pick two places in the world that you really like that are very different in some regards, and you say, I crowdfund these two places peer to peer by selling off the high season weeks, but having a place that the low season is actually as attractive, but people just don't know about it. What I call hidden gems, because when you find locations that have both a summer season but it's not utilized, and have a winter season that is utilized, then you need to make the money in the winter season by selling the weeks, and then doing the opposite, with a summer destination that still has nice weather in the winter, people escape. It's a beautiful way of coming up with something new. But in reality, you have to also think about, if I can do something that I maybe be able to lower the price for something to be able to give the entry of certain people more accessible, and maybe I do something different. So like what Olumide is saying, I could create a project that is for $1 million vacation home, and like in the future, because you don't start with that would be kind of not the way to do it. That's not a good pilot, right? You don't start and invest $1 million into something that you have no proof that it works. So you might start with a project that costs $50,000, and then you say, okay, if it costs $50,000, how do I do it then? The infrastructure works, and then I say, okay, if the infrastructure works, now I let it up to other people to start doing that. And we can only do certain things by experiencing it first. And I think that all of us here have made mistakes, because if you didn't make mistakes, then you haven't learned from it and you won't be able to grow. So we all have done things. Like Keisha ran into things by going to the Solana blockchain that I bet she's being like, I wish I did it on something different, but that's what you have to deal with. I think Julia probably thought, well, what if I would have put out 200 of them every single time? Then I would have made a lot more every single time, right? Maybe I have enough audience to be able to do so. And everyone starts to think, like, I might have to adjust.
Pricing. Like, no one talks about how you
like bring it up. Like, what's the value of one NFT? I feel like when I put mine out, I was like, the beginning went very well, and I thought I had a list. I wrote down a whole list of people. They're gonna buy one too, and then they didn't buy it, and I was surprised, because I was like, hey, like I feel like it makes sense in my head. Like I feel like, how could you not do it? But it's like you have so many factors that you don't pay attention to when you're going into a project. Like I always say, and it's funny because I do mentorship for startups, and now I was reversing my own. Like, if I would ask myself the same question, I would be like, yeah, I'm solving a problem for me, but and I am looking at the pricing out of a perspective of me. But did I ask enough people? Like, would you buy it for this price? What is the price that you would pay for this? I didn't apply my own strategies that I would teach other people. So I'd be like, because we're in a new space, you're like, oh man, this is first. I am the first, and Olumide is the first, and many others. And the Metaverse, he was doing infrastructure in the Metaverse, Luca, before anyone was thinking about those things. So we were pioneers in all these things. So how could we know how to do it if we're the first? So I think it should also be something that you should be proud of. It's not something that, like, the fact that people are listening now, they're going to be thinking, yeah, I want to do something now. I've heard these mistakes, similar to how successful entrepreneurs that we learned from, our mentors, have taught us things that they went through, that they failed, that then we don't have to fail in those areas. And I think that we have the biggest IP of all, is that we're the first people to know where the future is heading. So I think that they would all be happy to be a part of our communities.
And I think people need to just, like, if they find a project where the concept's right, it makes sense, and maybe the project is just not developed enough yet, you've got to be patient. You've got to maybe follow the project for a while, see what the team is doing, see that they continue to follow through, see that they continue to improve. If you're seeing small improvements over time, that's already good enough, because this is a new space, it's new technology, nothing is perfect. There's a lot of just entrepreneurs who are innovating, and I mean they don't have millions behind them sometimes, so you got to be patient.
And to kind of jump off of what Lars was saying too, I mean, I have a digital marketing background, and I've done newsletters, and I've done websites, and I've done all of those things. And I was just like, all right, I got this. Like, I know how it works. I know how to do it. I got this. It's cool. I've run ads before. I've done marketing for big companies. Like, I got this. This is easy. And it's like, it's not. It's just a whole other ball game. It's a whole different way that things moves. Goodbye to Google Ads. Goodbye to all the things you thought worked. Do not build out your newsletter. Like, it's not the same ABC steps that you usually.
Especially when the whole market, there's not enough people in the market widely, even in our digital nomad community. That's why I sold 100, not 5,000. In a good way, it's a good thing. But sorry to interrupt, is that even the market's not mature enough for all our people running in Facebook ads.
No,
I don't even know what it is.
I just have to excuse myself for 1 minute to go grab my charger. So I do apologize. Just give me 1 minute.
No
worries.
That's the thing too. There's no market research. You don't know who to look at. Like, it's such a small amount of people that, like, I ran into problems. My husband ran into problems. I'm learning a lot about development and tech now. And like, there's just so many pieces to it. And like Lars said, it's already on the blockchain. So you got to do something about it. It's not like when you start up a business and you make a website, you're like, well, I can edit the website. You know what I mean? I could change my mission statement. I could change, you know what I mean? Like,
or take it down. There's not such a thing as taking it down.
I could take it down and forget about it and start a new LLC and just, and start it up again. You can't. The blockchain, it's there. That's it.
And they say it's anonymous, but in a sense, like when you're doxing yourself on the project too, like it's reputation bounding too. Like if I decide to say, you know what, guys, I did my best. Like the thing is, I could say this as a business owner outside of the NFTs. I could say I did my best. I really tried my hardest. And if you need anything, I'll be here, and I will be happy to help you in any way. Like you could say that, but here it's like it feels like you're on. Like that's why I always legacy over currency, because if you don't believe in it, trust me, if you don't believe in it, your life will be miserable, because people will say you are that person that put something out there and then didn't like act on it. So yeah, Keisha, what you're saying, like honestly, it's like, but it's also your baby. So there's something special about it too. There's something.
We're pioneering, and we're creating what the marketing of this space might look like in a year or two from now. We're the ones that are innovating that and figuring things out. Nobody has it figured out yet. And probably in a year from now, you're going to still see people trying to implement newer strategies. But right now, what we're doing, us as a small group of people and our projects, we're kind of creating a small but workable outline of what you can do, at least right now, what we've tried, what's worked and what hasn't. But there isn't a guidebook on how to make a project sell out or how to best market it. Like there's just so much, but that's another thing to jump on. I'm sure Olumide is feeling the same thing with his project. It's
like I've helped people make millions of dollars straight up, and I did all my tactics, and it didn't work for me. It was one of the most frustrating challenges I've ever been through in my life. With these, I made an announcement a week ago, and then I was like, I changed my mind. I was just like, what is going on right now? This thing will take you to your core. Like, because you cannot escape the blockchain, because it is so intertwined into your life. Like literally it means something to other people to be part of a community and to be part of a project that by the way, people watching, if you want to do it, just know that you better be all in. You cannot escape the blockchain. You cannot escape your commitments. Make sure you're all in. When you're invested in a project, make sure you understand it, do your research. I'm looking at Retropause. I'll buy it. I'm in just because of the art, just because there's a certain thing, mental health advocacy. when you get into something, just know that like you can't escape it. Like it'll be on the blockchain for unless someone buys it from you, you'll be on the blockchain and you'll be able to be part of this as well. So I feel like I'm rambling, and I kind of have
And
No, I think it's great.
and all of me, and I think that we're here all out of the passion that we have for community, because I think that the thing that we all have in common, no matter what our background of the project might be, is that we want to have a community that is going to build something for the future. And you know, I'm gonna mention this here because I have had this idea for a while, and I think this is the perfect moment. Like I know that there's only the people probably already left because they know it ended at 8. But I'm working on a concept that I think is going to bring a lot of these things together, a lot of the things we have spoken about, and I wanna call it. I'm still developing. I want to put it out there for you guys to know, because I think that I brought Keisha and Julia onto this panel after Luca and Olumide invited me to say, okay, hey, let's set this up. I'm doing Twitter Space. I do this all the time, where in Twitter Spaces I basically facilitate rooms where I basically talk about different projects, and I start to see patterns and stuff. And I think that I can partner up with every single one, all 4 of you in this way, because what I want to set up, I want to build this thing called NFT idea parties, where it's like events all over the world. So I think I can connect with Olumide on that. I want to do them in the Metaverse as well with Luca. And then I want to have artists and PFP projects to come in and pose their questions so that we all can do ideas. Because what is the main thing that people hate is when you pose a question. Like if I would pose a question right now, I bet that chat box is going to go crazy, because everyone is going to feel obliged that they have to say something. Oh, I know someone. You should connect with this person, or you should connect with that person. So I want to do this thing where I want to connect all of us by making us all win. We always talk about like we're all going to make it. Like that's this thing. It's like in whack me. That's like the phrase that they use in the NFT.
Oh my God,
and I think that this is the ultimate way of doing that, is by doing both in-person events and digital events. But the events are related around solving problems or putting out ideas to be able to all win. So that I wanted to put it out here first, that's something that I think will work really well with my Vacay shares model, because if I say I pick 4 places that this is going to be a thing, then I will be in those 4 places. They will be in 4 different that's my goal, 4 different continents, so that everyone has the ability to tap in every year, to tap into one of these idea parties, and then doing one Metaverse one. So I need to speak to all of you, because in a way, I think Olumide is the master of events. Luca is the master of the Metaverse, and I want to have Julia and Keisha be ambassadors in different continents, right? Like, so if Julia is in Paris and Keisha is in Costa Rica, and I am in Bansko, what's close to Turkey, and then Turkey is really close from where Olumide is doing his festival, and then we do Bali in the other side, I say boom, 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 boom. We have 4 right there.
Count me in. I was going to say, Lars, if everyone who's listening, if you have no idea what NFTs are, if you're like not even sure if you're interested, if you're just hearing us chat and get excited and have all of this like energy, and you're like, I don't know what these people are on, but it's interesting. All I'm going to say is NFTs are bringing joy back into the future of what we can do, and the ability to be a creator, an innovator, a leader in the space, because it is so new right now. What Lars is talking about, all of these brand new, we all have different projects. Not only can I guarantee that you specifically belong in NFTs, because look, we have an artist, we have a dev, we have like big concepts, we have small projects, we have across the board, like you are needed in the space right now, and the capability to build community, to build relationships in the real world, and to build financial security for your future in an innovative and creative way. That's why we're all so hyped up. Like, this is the space, this is the time to be doing it, because it's the innovation that's happening at the beginning. Everything Lars is talking about, I'm getting excited about, because I know Lars is someone that consistently shows up. I know Olumide. We're allowed to have those times when mental health affects us, or we get overwhelmed, because this is huge stuff. And being the innovators doesn't mean that we have all the answers. So it can be very overwhelming. But what brings us back is knowing that we have already built a community of people who, when we can't show up for ourselves, are going to show up for us and be like, no, you still belong here. Let's go, wag me. That's what we're talking about. That's why NFTs are something we're so passionate about. And that's why we want everyone to learn more about why we're all here.
And we're building and innovating, and also, you know, just exiting out all the things that we see in our world. There are no borders or limitations in this space. There are no, like, you don't need a passport to go into Luca's metaverse. You don't need something like that. Like, it's a place that's really accessible and easy to anybody in the world. I know people that are in Thailand that are working on projects. I know people in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in the United States. This does not discriminate. This does not, this just, it gives so many opportunities to just anybody. It doesn't matter how you start or how much money you have. Even Olumide, he was saying that he's mentored people to make millions of dollars. He probably, you know, we've all here probably made a decent amount of money or have done some sort of mentorship or things like that. But you don't need $1 million to start into the space. You can become a millionaire to start into the space. It doesn't matter if you are a millionaire and you come into this space, you're going to be at the same playing level that we are at right now. You're going to be at the same playing level that
we are all still clueless. Yeah. We are all still. Yeah. We are. How many months? Like, for real. Like, I didn't know what NFTs were. In May, I'll tell you right now. In May, I did not know what NFTs were. And then now I really run spaces where 200 people join to be able to get information that I say is just life advice. Not so much. I'm not giving true like NFT advice. It's still your angle of what you do with it, but it's me telling you pitch your why, not your what. I'm not doing anything different than what I would do in a mentorship. But the fact that I'm now, every single time I jump out of a space that I did, I have 50 new followers because I just taught 200 people how they can do something different. That does not mean that they're all 200 going to do the exact same thing. In fact, they're all 200 going to do something exactly different from each other. And that's why this is powerful. Like, people that listen in, like I always say, the 35 people that might be listening now might spread this to 100 more people, and those 100 spread it to 100 more people, and that's an impact. Similar to how digital nomads going to particular places in Bali, Playa del Carmen, Bansko, doesn't matter where, Madeira, they go to these places and they hear a story from one person, but that affects a following of 5,000 people on their Instagram. And now those 5,000 people, maybe 100 of them are also going to Madeira. And then they share it with their group of 5,000 followers. And that's what exponential growth is. And it's word of mouth that we all cannot beat. No advertisement campaign, no newsletter can beat that. Because when you hear it from your friend, when Keisha heard me speak about Olumide's project, she heard in my passion and my vision. And it's not even my project. Because I'm not selling my project. Like, I'm not speaking about my project.
Yeah, and mind you, I didn't really know Lars when he, you know, we had practically just met. We had a few conversations. We're digital nomads. I'm like, all right, let's go. He hooked me up with Olumide. Me and Olumide chatted on WhatsApp, and I was just like, this is my dude. You know what I mean? Like, right off the bat, I was like, I'm in. Like, because we shared a similar passion, and you know, Lars was super excited talking to me about it. I was just like, oh snap, this is amazing. Like, I got to get on this. And it's things like that, you know, things like that happen so quickly, and the connections and just the passion that everybody has. And also for those, kind of what Julia was saying, for those who are listening, like, check out our profiles, check out our LinkedIn, our Twitters, like, hit us up, jump in there. That's the first place to start.
And Luca was the same thing for me. Like, he had a podcast, and he said, Lars, you want to be on the podcast about your vacay shares project? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's like the first time I connected with him, and I was like, man, this guy has so much energy. He is very like forward thinking, very nice guy. Like I see him being a friend of mine. And that was the first time I ever spoke with him. And maybe a month later, he was in Bansko, and we're at a dinner table drinking wine and having dinner. And I meet his girlfriend, and it's like an amazing time. And the same thing is like, I told Julia, I will fly to Paris. I told people in Berlin that I met on Twitter Spaces, I will fly to Berlin, because to me, the experiences that you have, and I'm going to give a tip to everyone listening. If you want to get into the NFT space, NFT experiences in the real world is the future. And I think that if you do, like you have a restaurant or you have a co-working space, sell experiences in the form of NFTs. I promise you, you will be successful. Luca, go
Lars,
ahead.
Yeah,
I see you over there.
I know I'm going to go in just 30 seconds, but I'll leave you with this and I bring it back to the digital nomads. And I like to think about it like this. I mean, the first digital nomad was actually in like 1983, a guy who used to work as a journalist, and he was the first one. 30 years later, the world is catching, even more, I think like 40 years later, the world is catching up, and now there's millions of them. It's the same with this kind of technology. We're amongst the first couple 100,000 who's doing business in this kind of space, and that's only going to increase and continue increasing. So don't wait till the world tells you it's normal. Do it before. But with that, I'm good to go.
Thank you, Luca. So nice to
Awesome,
meet
Luca. Very nice to meet you,
Ciao.
Luca, as well.
I'm jumping off as well.
Yeah. I think
Guess we're ending.
it's that time. I think we have spread all the energy. We have spread all the energy we could. I think the people have heard. If they don't believe in the energy of us with our passion, then I don't know what else would get them into it or ask us questions or anything. So I appreciate you guys for coming and like showing up, Julia and Keisha, on a pretty short notice to be there. And Olumide, I look forward to the networking sessions tomorrow and the event as well.
Yeah.
For anyone who has the VIP, I know that's going to be very fun as well.
Yeah, I was just going to mention to make.
Are we able to? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Olumide.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was going
we
to
are.
say that you guys are welcome to every speaker is welcome to the VIP, and you'll get an email. And anyone who's watching, who's part of our VIP tomorrow official announcement, you get an email a few hours before, if you have not already, on how to network or how to get into our networking. And our presentation, the hall for this, it's a virtual space where you literally click to go into different rooms. So it's not a full metaverse, but we're trying and we're innovating.
Stage
like
one.
it.
I love it.
And you'll get an email about it. Yeah, exactly. Check your spam. And also, we're supposed to give away that's why probably a few people are still on. Give away a free trip to Bali. What we'll do is I'll look at the data on the most engaged people, and we're going to find somebody and gift them that. And so stay tuned for the email or announcement. We may announce it tomorrow in the VIP section, depends. But thank you, everybody, for being on. And thank you, Lars, so much for jumping on, bringing in the lovely, amazing women here in our space. And I'm sure we'll be seeing much more of each other, right? So we'll talk to you guys soon.
100%.
We out.
Looking forward
Peace.
to
All right,
it.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.